You can immediately look professional by one single fix: lighting. It is about 80% of the look, not the camera you use. When you really get the basics of lighting, your scene can easily look like this, like this, like this, like this, and like this. All in this same space, my living room. I'm in the same room for all these different shots you're looking at. You will learn everything you need to know about lighting for videography and for filmmaking before this video ends. Let's start. So there are a couple of things you need to know before buying your light. The first one is the difference between hard light and soft light. This is how hard light looks like. Look at the shadows under my chin. Look at the shadows my hand is casting on me, the mic is casting on me. It's kind of like you're under the sunshine, and I'll explain exactly how that is very soon. Now the thing about hard light is it highlights all the details of my face, and it's not extremely flattering, compared to soft light. Every texture is exaggerated, and for this particular light, this is how the light comes out of the box. And in contrast, this is a soft light. It's actually the same light, the same position. The only thing that changed is what the light passes through before it hits my face. And because this time the light is passing through something, the power has to be increased to balance it out. And the interesting thing is the shadows are still there. It's just extremely gradual now, so it's not very harsh. And this is what the eye reads as natural. And technically, this is what some call cinematic. Now, how do you turn hard light into soft light? You do two things. First, you pass the light through a medium. It could be a softbox, a diffusion panel, or even a white bed sheet. Basically, anything that scatters the light before it reaches the subject. Now, secondly, you make the light source larger. The larger the light source relative to your subject, the softer the light looks. Now back to that sun scenario. This is why on a cloudy day where there are a lot of clouds, the light looks actually really soft. So these two things are happening. First, the cloud is acting as the diffuser, like the softbox, and it's also making the light look large relative to us. And then usually in the middle of the day when there is no cloud, the sun looks really harsh. That's because even though the sun is massive, the sun is really far from us and it acts as a point source. Of course, the size of the sun didn't change. The sunlight just got modified. Right, I'm going to demonstrate it just now. You see, as I'm closer to the light, it's really soft. Now I'm going to move back and you see it's going to get harder. So see, the further I go from the light, the smaller the light becomes relative to me. So the point is, if you got yourself a really huge modifier, but then it's far away from you, it basically turns into a hard light. Now this is basically physics at work. Right, so when you're looking to get a softbox, generally the rule is to get the biggest softbox that will fit in your space, but also that will fit in your budget, because the bigger it gets, the more expensive it gets. Now, a very beautiful tip that I've used for a lot of my client videos, especially product videos, is to bounce the light on your wall. Because the walls are huge, that makes for a very soft light. But this only works if your walls are colorless. Ideally a white wall or a lighter shade of gray. Now the only thing you need to know about this is, though you get a huge softbox, it means the light is going to spill everywhere. So if you want your background to be relatively dark, you are not going to be able to achieve that very successfully. In my case, that has actually been a plus in the situations I use it. Alright, so when it comes to modifiers, they come in different shapes and sizes. Today I'm going to show you a few examples. Let's start with this rectangular one. This rectangular modifier is quite big and is going to give you a very good quality of light, a very soft light. So the light passes here and passes through two layers of diffusion. So there's one inside. There's one layer inside over here, then this is the second layer. And by the time the light reaches your subject, it's quite soft. The only problem is it has no grade. I'll show you what a grade is very soon. It has no grade. So the light spreads around quite a lot. The next one is this octobox that I have right here. It's an octagonal one, so it gives a very good quality of light. A little better than the one I just showed you. So the advantage of this one is it comes with the option of adding a grade onto the light. This is what the grade is. Yeah, you can decide to use the modifier without the grade, but then most of the time I use the grade. Now what the grade does is it helps to control the light. It prevents it from spreading around too much. Now very similar to that one, the light passes through here, passes through a first layer of diffusion somewhere inside, then it passes through the outer one before the light comes out. So it also has two layers and it's quite large, and I explained the good quality of light you get from this one. Now for the next one I'm going to show you, it's also a rectangular one, but then it's more of a strip, as you can see over here. So same way, light passes through here, first diffusion, second diffusion, and as you can see I have the grade on here also, just to help control the light exactly how I want the light to go. Now because of the shape of this one, the type of light it gives is a little different. It's a bit more hard because it's smaller, and this works great if you have a small space and something as huge as that is not going to fit in the space. And for example, if you are lighting a person and you want the quality to be a bit more wide, a trick you can do is, instead of having it standing like that, you can turn it this way and it's going to spread the light a bit more, and that also looks quite good. Now for most cases, what I use this for, I use it as a hair light. So when I'm having a photo shoot, I have the main key lights coming from maybe an angle like this. I usually have this at the back, and just angled so that it gives me that outline. So usually that's what I use this for. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the bigger the softbox, the more expensive. But then it doesn't have to be always expensive. For example, this umbrella softbox is very, very cheap. Of course, it's not as perfect as those situations because one, you cannot control the light. There's no option to add a grid on here, and also it's just one level of diffusion. There's no extra, so there's that, but you can work with it. I've gotten really good looking lights using just the umbrella, so it's one option. Then if you want to go even cheaper, you can use this folds up that way. This comes in something we call a 5-in-1 reflector, so you can take this side out and wow, and just put this in front of the light, and that's also going to spread the light in a very pleasing way. This option is usually even cheaper than the umbrella option. Now the disadvantage is just like the umbrella, you cannot really regulate where the light will go, and then usually either someone holds it in front of the light or you put it on a stand and put it in front of the light. Now if you want to go even cheaper or even more budget friendly, you can use a large white bed sheet and just hang it on a stand, put it in front of the light, and that also does quite an amazing job. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can also just shine the light on your white wall, and it's also going to give you a good soft light. I'm currently doing that. This light is just shining on the wall and it's coming onto me like that, and it looks quite good, right? Now, one thing that some of these modifiers have in common is the fact that they use a Bowens mount. I'm going to explain what a Bowens mount is very soon. So this one has, this one also has, and then this has, which means you can use these 3 types of modifiers on any light that has a Bowens mount, and that's a huge plus. One reason why it's advisable to get the biggest soft box that your space can contain and your budget will allow is you can have the huge soft box, and if you need it to be acting like a point source, you just have to move far away from it or move it far away from the subject. But then if I need a very soft light and I need it close to, I just bring it close to myself, or I get myself close to it. When it comes to YouTube videos, one of the other tricks I do is I set up the light and then I move myself, so I can decide to be back here and present from here, or I can decide to be closer and present from there based on the scenario. Because the light setup is kind of huge, the softbox is huge and it's standing on a stand, so instead of every time getting up and moving the light, I can move myself, and that's a very useful trick I learned over the years. It saves me a lot of time. Right, so let's move on to the next thing. When it comes to the light itself, there are different modes of light. You have the most popular one, which is called the daylight balance light. This one usually sits around 5600 Kelvin, and this is about the temperature of sunlight, hence the name daylight. Most lights come in daylight balance like this. The light on my face currently is a daylight balance one. Now the next mode we call the bicolour light. This one usually has 2 modes, a very cool white light and a very warm white light. We can refer to it as the temperature of the light. So this type of light is slightly more expensive than just the daylight balance one because it gives you the 2 options. Now the disadvantage comes when it comes to the output of the light. Because the bulbs inside are being shared between the cool and then the warm, it's like the maximum output for each mode is kind of cut into 2. So if you look at the bulbs right now, you'll see that the cool bulbs turn off when I move to the warm side, and vice versa. When I move to the cool side, you see the warm bulbs turn off, so it reduces the maximum output of the light. Now for the next mode, I'm going to use this small light to demonstrate. It's the RGB light, and I know most of us have heard RGB. This light gives you access to the full color spectrum. So for example, this light can go from pink to purple to blue to any color in between actually. So you have so many options. Because of this type of light is also a little more expensive than the other 2. When it comes to the use case, I usually use it in the background as practical light just to make the video look a bit more interesting. So on the wall, for example, I have another RGB light that's just casting an orange window shape onto the wall, and I like the vibe it gives when you have different colors behind you. Now when it comes to the type of lights to buy, there are a couple of options. The first option is a single point source light. When it comes to the creative world, it's the most popular and then the most universal, mainly because of the Bowens mounts, the mounts that I talked about earlier. And this mount basically makes it possible to adapt different types of modifiers onto the light. It's also generally very bright, which makes it possible to be able to shine it onto the wall and get enough light falling back on the subject, and also makes it possible to use a huge softbox and still have enough light falling onto the subject, because the softbox reduces the intensity of the light. Also, when you get this type of light, usually you can't use it on its own. You definitely have to get some sort of modifier, unless you deliberately want the hard light on your subject. Now the next type is the LED panels, like this for example. Some come in just the daylight balance, and some come in the bicolor option, where you can have it extremely warm like this, or you can change it to extremely cool like this. Now for many cases, you can use this type of LED panel for your key light. So for this light, right out of the box, it has an advantage because you don't need a modifier technically to still get a soft light. The only problem is for most of them, there is no option to soften the light even further or make it wider if you need. But then there are some options that have a mounting point that you can put on a softbox, but then I've not seen many of them. This one is not one of them. So this is the size I'm getting. If I'm doing a product shoot and the product is small, let's say I'm having this as a product, look at the size of the light compared to the product. It's still huge enough to create enough soft light. So for many cases it works. Now the next category, I'm going to put them under practical lights. And practical lights are basically lights that you add to your scene, your background and stuff that make the video look more interesting. Basically the practical lights adds depth to your video. For example, most of the RGB lights, I use them for practical lights. So you can just set a color based on your product and the colors you want in your video. You select your color and then you just put it in your background. Practical lights have gotten very popular in recent years. Many YouTube creators use them just to make their video nice and also for product videos. We have really popular ones like this Ulanzi version. We have the Aperture MC and so many lights. I'm going to link all the products in the description if you want to get yourself one. But hold on, don't get a ring light. So now let's go to the reason why I don't advise getting ring lights. The quality of the bulbs that are usually in ring lights are not very high, and so the light's quality is not that excellent. Now the other thing is, most ring lights come with the stand in the middle where you can put your phone or you can put your camera, which means that the light and the camera are coming from the same angle, and this kind of looks flat on the face. There are no shadows and stuff. For a lot of content creators in the beauty niche, this works because for them they want the light to show all the various sides of their face, and because of how ring lights are designed, you don't have the ability to put the camera here and then put the light on the side, unless you decide to put the ring light on the side and then use another camera. And personally, I don't like how the reflection of the ring light looks on your eye. I don't know, it gives some kind of cat-like vibe to me. I personally don't like it. The other disadvantage of the ring light is the fact that there's no mount for putting extra modifiers on it, so you cannot increase the surface area of the light basically. Now I'm going to show you one principle that in my opinion made the biggest impact on my lighting journey. Most people build their lighting setup by putting on the key light first, the big main light first, getting it to look good on their face, getting it to look good on the subject before turning on all the other lights that are acting as practical lights. That is backwards. When you put on your main light first, every other light has to compete with it. Usually that's going to make your background either underexposed or too bright, and then you have to turn on the power of the practical light and everything is just extremely bright. Now the correct sequence is this. Start with the room. If there are any practical lights that are going to be in your scene, put those on, then adjust your camera so that the practical light looks natural. Now add any other background lights that you want to add to your scene. RGB light on a stand, RGB light in a corner. Now when everything is adjusted and it looks good to you, then and only then should you add your main light, which is your key light. So I'm going to turn on my key light now. So now that the key light is on, you start low and increase it gradually until it feels balanced to you, or it feels the way you want your video to look like. So I'm going to be increasing mine till I'm happy with the result. Okay, now that's too bright for my liking. I'm going to turn it down a bit. I'm monitoring on my phone right here so I can see. Okay, right about that. So I like what I'm having now, and you see I didn't even have to put my main light at 100%. It's currently sitting at 41%, and that's good enough. If I had started with a key light, I probably would have started with 100 and now trying to adjust everything to fit that look. So this little trick can make the difference between a frame that looks lit versus a frame that looks like something that's part of the environment. You get it? This sequence is how you make any space look intentional within just a few minutes. So when you are on a paid shoot, a location you've never been to, and maybe the client is even there watching you, you read the room, you build from what exists, and then you blend your light into the scene. Now everything I've shown you works identically for product shoots. The principles do not change. Hard versus soft, ambient light first, one light at a time. The only thing that changes is the scale. Same problem, hard light, harsh shadows. Every imperfection is highlighted. Same solution, larger, softer light. Positioned at an angle so that the light shapes the product instead of making it look flat. Now here are a few things to consider when buying a light. The power of the light, usually written on the light as the wattage. The higher the wattage, the higher the output of the light. The output is actually measured in lux, LUX, and is the lumens per square meter, but we are not getting into the technical details. For example, this is the Godos VL150 light, and the 150 stands for 150 watt light, and I hardly ever use it on the full power. In this particular setup, I'm using it on just 41%, and there have been cases I've used it at even 19%. It all depends on the ambience you are trying to create. So there are smaller wattage options that are much cheaper and will do almost the same work, like the 60 watt version. So I'm going to search and link the best options in the description. The other option to consider is whether it's battery powered or you need to plug it in. Most of the battery powered ones are rechargeable. This one has a battery internally, so you can just charge it to the USB-C. For these other ones, you can use the Sony NPF batteries. You just plug it in and that works. This particular light has the option to use 2 batteries, or you can decide to plug it in and use it without any battery. That's quite convenient. Now, one other thing to consider is if the light has an app interface that makes it possible to control it from maybe your phone. Something like this just increases the convenience, especially when you are setting up and maybe you're a one-man show. You don't have to always get up to put on the light, put off the light, adjust the light and stuff. It's quite convenient to regulate it from your mobile devices. Another very useful light type is the hair light, which just draws a thin line on the edges of what you are shooting and makes the subject pop a bit from the background. In this particular video, I'm not using a hair light because I have a white wall which is bouncing the key light back onto me, you see, so you can see a bit of it, but it's not from a light, it's just from the wall. In some of my other videos, I use the key light on this side and then I use the hair light on this side just to make me stand out a bit from the background. Now, if this video was useful in any way, I have one favor: kindly hit the like button. It's very helpful. And if you want to see me again, kindly subscribe. Now, if you want to see how lighting fits into the full freelance kit, cameras, lenses, audio storage, that video is linked right here. I also did an extensive research and put together a camera buying guide in case you are looking for your next camera. And I have it in different budgets. I'm going to link that also in the description. Alright, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.